One of the things I've noticed lately is that various kinds of seeds that are just spread over the surface of saturated burlap are germinating quite well compared to some of the seeds I put in the Oasis cubes. Here we have some shard seedlings that were spread out on burlap just 7 days ago, and you can see that these are coming along pretty well. For other kinds of plants, I've been using the Oasis cubes for quite a while, and I've noticed that the holes in the Oasis cubes are quite deep, and it seems to me that seedlings often get stuck in those holes and can't grow. So I'm going to show you how I am now tweaking my Oasis cubes in order to hopefully get better response out of them. And here we have an Oasis cube that I have modified, and all I have done is that on the side opposite the manufactured hole, I've taken this pencil and just pressed a depression into the cube, maybe 1/8 of an inch, 3/16, something like that deep, and put a shard seed in there. And basically this just makes kind of a platform for things to grow and not get trapped inside the cube, which is fairly strong and basically I think will strangle plants if it gets a chance to. I'm doing the same thing with romaine lettuce. Made a slight depression and put 3 seeds in it. Don't know that I'm going to let multiples come out, because in my hydroponic system every plant will grow like 18 or 24 inches or so and provide a continuous harvest or a cut and come again, but hopefully this will help with the propagation. And here's another test, this time with basil, just laying on the surface, kind of based on seeing the broccoli seeds, which are very tiny, just laying on the surface of the saturated burlap. So here we have a half a dozen or so basil seeds laying on the surface of a saturated Oasis cube. Another opportunity for tweaking Oasis cubes comes when you're making clones of things like basil, and in this case you can start with something like a clipping from basil. Okay, and if you haven't checked this out, when you clone basil, you want to cut just below a place where the leaves appear from the stem, because that's where roots will also appear. And then you want to take your little scissors here and clip away all the stuff on the bottom. This one is branched, and what else you might want to do here, just to reduce the demand for water, is to clip away most of the leaves on this, and sparing the split in the stem. But that just reduces the burden as the thing is creating new roots. So now I have this little basil clone ready to go in, and I'm going to select the drill bit that seems about the right size. This one. Okay, so I just compared the drill bit with the clone. This one looks pretty good. And all I'm going to do is just take this drill bit by hand and carefully drill down to the bottom of the Oasis cube. Doesn't matter that it came out the side. And then I'm going to stick this down in the cube, and I'm going to put it in this little bowl of water to soak up, and there it can stay until you see roots start to emerge out of the side. I will say that with these white bowls that I'm using that are basically Cool Whip recycled, these do have a tendency to grow algae, so maybe now and then, once or twice a week, once a week or something, you want to clean out the water. I actually have my hydroponic nutrient solution in here, and if I'm a good boy, I will change that when I start to see algae grow. But that's all there is to it. So here we have 3 of the plants that are in the tweaked Oasis cubes. On the left there's a basil plant which seems to be doing okay, in this deep water culture. In the middle you have romaine, which is about 3 days old, maybe 4 days old, and this was the dibble case where I made a flat bottom depression in the bottom of the Oasis cube, working much better. The cubes that I bought actually have what they call the the single hole dibble, and I didn't know about this, but in fact Oasis does make another variation on their cubes which has what they call the multi-seed dibble, which is basically a shallow flat bottomed hole. I think this might work than just leaving things on the surface. I have some basil that's coming along pretty well, and this little depression probably causes like an area of moisture that is good for the sprouting seeds. And then on the right we have a cutting from a grafted plant which is in an Oasis cube that's been drilled through. This one is doing okay. As I mentioned, this is a grafted plant. I don't know that whatever characteristics came from the grafting will come through on this, but the plant apparently will continue to grow. So overall, I think growing basil and tomatoes and whatever from cuttings is probably more efficient than starting from seeds, although you do need to know how to do seeds.